black coffee.
This is the Exchange Coffee Podcasting Network. Coffee people talking to coffee people about coffee and things coffee adjacent. This episode of The Exchange is brought to you by Kavoya Specialty Coffee, where coffee is always a collaborative voyage. Welcome to the Exchange Coffee Podcast, hosted by Mark Inman and Todd Mackey. This is episode 45, recorded while Mark, Todd, and Mike, that's me, attended the Roast Summit, hosted by Roast Magazine in Portland, just a few days ago as I record this. You'll notice from the sound that we are not in the studio, but in an Airbnb where we sat down to talk about the event. And now, here they are, Mark and Todd. And Mike, too.
We are in Portland, Oregon. This is where I got my start in coffee, my old stomping ground, at the Roast Magazine Roast Summit. And this one is the most attended yet.
Sold out. Over 300 people.
It's jamming.
Which is really equal to a Roasters Guild retreat when the guilds existed. It was very similar in size. It's wildly impressive to me.
Totally. Should we just hold a moment of silence for the guilds? Can we do that?
Sure, yeah.
All
you
right.
could pour it out for your homies there with your beer. Just pour it on the couch. It's okay. The Airbnb deposit here.
And
I can edit in the silence.
I wanted to build a little energy.
Oh, you want real...
No, that's fine. We can move on.
All right.
But I will say, to build on your energy, Todd, I have long felt that in the SCAA, that transition, the guilds were the backbone, the soul of the association. It's where I got the most kind of charge, and versus, I did love the larger SCAA or SCA, but the guilds, they were intimate, and it was people that were extremely focused on one aspect of coffee. So for me, it was Roasters Guild, for you, barista. And this has a very similar feel to it, to me. And I love that that still exists.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it was a place of belonging in like a very meaningful way. And the calendar year was like, at a point, it was littered with events like this one. I mean, there were some years at the peak in the U.S., there were 4 barista camp events.
Unbelievable.
And I believe, wasn't there a year where there was 2 Roasters Guild retreats?
Yeah.
I mean, that is crazy to me.
And now, none.
There was a reason
0.
it worked, and what Connie's doing is tapping into the reason that it was working.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm surprised that prior to her tapping into this, that because there was talk when I was early on the board, the Roasters Guild was very frustrated with the relationship with the SCAA, and they kept threatening to we're going to branch off and do our own thing. And when they actually killed the guilds, I thought somebody's going to pick up the mantle and do this. It's a natural. There's such demand for this type of feeling, and she's basically filled that void at this point.
Yeah, very reminiscent of being at a Roasters Guild retreat.
Yeah, very impressive. I'm very happy to be here. I took a lot of notes from my time here so far, but a lot of it had to do with kind of like, this is the soul, this is the kind of the real reason why people are so thrilled about being in the coffee industry, because it has this intimate kind of family feeling that you don't get in a lot of other industries. And then you get into like the coffee fests and other stuff, and those are trade shows. I mean, that's what they are. They're not really trying to be much beyond that. But yeah, she's had educational events. This is day 1 we just completed. Some very strong educational events, but a very solid turnout of what I'm assuming are small to medium-sized roasters and some importers. I didn't see any really... Oh, I guess there was Delano's. That was a larger...
I felt like I saw a good number of larger roasters.
Yeah.
The moment for me that really sealed it brought me back to the first Roasters Guild I attended, which I believe was in West Virginia. Remember the property that it would go back and forth between...
Sugar Lake.
Is that what it was called?
Up in Minnesota. No, the one in West Virginia. I forgot what that one was.
There was that, and then it would go out to Skamania Lodge in Washington State. But regardless, like, there was always this moment at the guild events, Barista and Roasters Guild, where there is a clear kind of, I won't say old guard, because I think that's not the right feeling or connotation, but this sort of like clear contingent of people who have been doing this a long, long time, who in so many ways, like, you know, them coming to this, they're not going to sit in a session, a class,
Right.
and be, you know, they'll be engaged, excited, and always find something out of that class and combining it with their ongoing curiosity. But for all intents and purposes, like, they are doing the thing, they've been doing the thing, and you know, you walk into a room like this one and you look around and it's like, oh yeah, a lot of these people were there.
Right.
But then immediately, you know, Connie goes up and becomes the voice of that like portion of the room and is sort of like welcoming anyone who this may be their first event.
Right.
And opens the door for no ego, very, you know, safe, open space. And yeah, I feel like, to me, I haven't been to something like this. Probably, I mean, there's a few regional events. I have to shout out Northeast Coffee Festival, fantastic.
AKA NERBIC.
The NERBIC was
different.
This is the Northeast
I just
Regional
love that
Barista
name.
Competition. I know that's a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
That was with the one time I competed. But no, the NECF Northeast Coffee Festival, which is it's going to be its 6th year this year.
In a similar feel to this, or
Similar feel, more DIY, more, you know, independent, smaller companies, but really just you see this kind of very community run, community focused energy. And I think the coolest way that this connects back to those guild events is that a lot of people who were foundational, yourself included, Mike, people who were like the builders of the original iterations are in the room, just as excited to be there as ever.
Right.
And then you combine that with like, a lot of folks that are probably first or second time coming out to an event, and they're got the nerves and, you know, show up and they're welcomed so warmly. It was moving.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was moved.
Yeah. Highlight today, any topics that you enjoyed or?
Yeah, there was a moment. There was, so for me, like one of my favorite moments of the day, I mean, there was a lot of great moments interacting with a lot of folks, yourselves included, but my favorite moment of the day, I went to a presentation. I'm sure you must have gone to this session at a different time, but I was in the class that Rob Hoos.
Yes, I was good. That was one of my notes.
Yeah. Presented on quality in dark roasting.
Quite topical given our the quiz we did a few episodes ago.
Absolutely.
And Mike's insistence of don't crap on the dark roast. It's a significant.
No, he literally cited the same consumer preference
Although
data.
Mike checked him on that.
Well,
live in my
interesting.
session.
You were in that session, so I sat in a later session, and Rob, although not by name, actually referenced Mike's follow up to his data. And for me, as a friend and colleague to you, Mike, that was a moment where I was just like, it's just so awesome.
Yeah.
Like knowing where that came from.
Yeah.
So
To be fair, I think it was I wasn't checking him when I was just adding a footnote.
oh no, it didn't come through that way at all. It was not, hey, you're challenging. It was more,
You know, it was adding more color to that.
adding a
point.
bit more depth
Color,
to it.
I'll take it.
But I saw him edging his way towards the corner, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, really good. But yeah, no, that was awesome. I mean, for me, these events, it's always just seeing everybody. One of my favorite interactions, I had a great chat with Mike Strumpf of Swiss Water.
I saw him.
Was easily, one of the best coffee people out there. And being in Portland, my first SCA was in Portland.
Oh, is that right?
And I arrived early to volunteer as a USBC sensory judge.
Yep.
And Mike was the head judge who was running the
Oh, wow.
calibration.
Yeah.
Who, he was so good in that role. And, just had such a great sense of humor for that sort of thing. So just getting to hang with him a bit today brought back so many good memories. How about you guys? What was the highlight?
I had first of all, I just want to say that whether it's the Northeast Coffee Fest or this summit, I just think it's just probably reiterating that the reason these events are happening is because they're filling a void.
Right.
Yeah. So, and one of my favorite moments today was I was out on the roasting patio. I'm not a roaster, but I was trying to follow the program. So I was out there with my group, and we'd just come out of the dark roast class, and I was trying to stay off to the side because I didn't want to get in the way of the roasters, who the class is for them. But and of course, Mike Ebert was teaching the class, and Mike kept calling me out.
Yeah.
As he does. But one of my favorite moments is Mike is talking. He was talking about the new Dietrich electric roaster, and so he's doing his presentation, and there's several people I perceived as young roasters standing a few feet away from Mike. And as he's talking, he's a little soft-spoken, and so he would turn away to look at the roaster, so his, the volume in his voice would go down. And watching these young roasters lean forward, that was probably my favorite part of the day. Just that hunger, that point in their career where they don't want to lose a single word. They're just fascinated by the whole process, eager to learn.
Yeah, and I thought what was interesting in the roaster area today was the kind of return or resurgence of civets. That roaster that, I don't know if you've ever seen an old civet. Todd, this may not be in your wheelhouse, but in the old civets, it was like basically a freshman metal shop class experiment. It was the original ones were extremely clunky looking.
Sure.
And now it's like machined and sexy, and it looked very similar to a Loring to me. But civets, since the passing of Michael Civets, I don't know who even owns this company, but certainly out of nowhere this machine showed up. I haven't seen that even at the SCA show.
No.
Yeah.
The old civets, what I remember is going to a roasting plant where if they had a civet, and the one thing that was consistent from plant to plant was they were extremely customized.
Yeah, they were all
a completely
taped
unique
and glued
machine,
together. Yeah, and then you had this, like literally AB vent tubing was the spout that the coffee came out of, and it just looked like you went to the hardware store and decided to make a roaster.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I believe it or not, Mark, there were many iterations of Roasters Guild classes that I taught on convection in roasting.
But not fluidized necessarily.
No, well, as a necessity, one would have to include information about a fluidized bed roaster, and civets being at that time, really the only one that I was familiar with until I spent some time in China in my early Olam Specialty Coffee days training on small shop Newhouse
Neotech.
Yeah, Newhouse Neotech machines.
Which was the sexy version of civets at that time.
Sure. And I imagine there are more industrial sizes of that machine that are very impressive.
Oh yeah, in fact, when I was in the UK with the previous company, we had a lot of clients over there, and the environmental rules in Europe, you see a lot more fluid bed roasters in there. And my reference point of a civets, the original civets, it was basically preset profiles, and you really they didn't even allow them in the Roasters Guild at first because there was nothing for you to manipulate or do. You just put the coffee in, turn it on, and pull it out when you have the profile done. And the later iterations of the Newhouse Neotech allowed for profiling. And I was at Master Roast UK, which is Matthew Mills' company. And there was a kid there that was probably 25, 26 years old, and they were talking about, Mark was involved with the Loring, and we were chatting. He goes, yeah, but I could roast better than you on this machine. I know I can. I'm like, oh, really? And then he kept leaning into his skill set on this roaster. And my point was like, my thought process was, well, it's on off. Like, where's the talent here? And then he did a tasting of all the coffees he had done, and they were stunning. And so you had the profiling potential, and it kind of reawakened me to, okay, the fluidized beds model is evolving pretty rapidly, and in many ways there should be a second look taken at it. Obviously, with civets now here with the shop roaster, that's probably happening. But on my kind of knee jerk off the cuff reaction to fluid coffees is you could taste the fluid bed. You could just taste.
Well,
that.
they have the propensity to be a little bakey, right?
Bakey and thin.
But that's not unlike the Loring, the tangential, air roaster. I mean, Loring, they obviously you have a cylindrical. It's not a drum, right? It's a fixed cylindrical compartment.
Yeah.
But it does, the coffee is coming into contact with it. But yeah, I've always wondered, and I wasn't there for this. I mean, you'd be able to comment more directly. I always thought, in looking back from a little further and realizing, oh, whoa, especially with like how beloved Loring has become, especially with having played with these roasters, being in other places where their influence is greater, understanding that, even on an Ikawa, for example, is very similar, right?
Sure.
Where you're realizing that, okay, if you tried to apply the standards for roasting that you took from a Diedrich, Probat, Gießen, a typical gas-fired drum roaster, that's where it falls apart.
Right.
But at the time where those standards were sort of written, communicated, so on and so forth, those were the companies that really had a death grip on everyone's attention here.
Right.
So it seems like it was, if someone were really there championing this space, history would look a lot different.
Well, Michael Sivitz was. I mean, every event at SCA, he was there. Very.
I don't mean to suggest he wasn't, but I mean the equipment from an appearance, from a communication, and like just a like, is it available? Is it scalable? Is it like, it was not pushed in the same savvy type of way.
If you were, this is the question for the floor here. If you were to start your dream roastery, what type of machine would you use, knowing what you know now? What would you be more attracted to using?
Well, if I did that, it would be a passion project, so I would pick the best looking roaster. I mean, I'd pick,
just best looking.
I'd pick the oldest Probat I could find, and if I would have to be rich if I was starting a roastery, so I'd find something that someone could rebuild from the ground up.
Okay.
And that would be just because it would please me aesthetically.
So an antique, restored,
to walk in every day.
vintage roaster.
Yeah, now that's because it's a passion project.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's valid.
Yeah.
Todd?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the profile from the Probat. Yeah. Classic Probats. I mean, I think the Probatone series is great. The current P series.
Right.
I certainly prefer the P series to the L series that preceded it. But for me, if I were to do it and logistics aren't an issue, like fossil fuel consumption is not on the table, the practicality of it doesn't come into play. For me, the UG22.
I got you.
Like, and modified.
Sure. Modernized,
right. Not modified, with a working aroma valve. This would be... This would be the machine.
Not one that just looks cool to look at.
No, I mean they're dangerous, right?
Yeah.
The aroma valve essentially cuts off the airflow out of the machine.
Yeah.
And so I believe the
Would
MO.
you utilize that? At the end, you're cranking it down.
No. The move that I understand to be the power move, and Rob actually talked about this as a moment in his discussion on dark roasting, not because it affects it, not to be specific about dark roasting,
right?
But as you approach first crack, you have water vapor pressure building, right? And changing like the aspects of flavor development and chemistry and all this type of stuff.
Sure.
The aroma valve is essentially a closed door. So simultaneously you could cut the heat. You have all of the energy in the drum approaching this exothermic moment where it's going to start generating energy from and for itself. You close the exhaust system through the aroma valve.
And crank the heat off.
And turn the heat off, right? You can't keep the heat on because there's no oxygen for combustion. Right. You'll flood it with gas. All of a sudden you'll blow it up when you turn it back on.
Right.
It's like a giant pipe bomb.
Yep.
But to give it that time where it's taking energy from itself, driving through first crack under synthesized pressure, to me, that is like the whole next level. And I understand why that feature on the machine past whatever year it went out of production. I can't even tell you. I get
early 70s.
Yeah, I get why it's totally a non-starter for like UL listing or safety or whoever.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to me, that machine would be the one I would want. And the Probat, it's kind of like why I would imagine for you guys who eat steak for lunch, 6 days a week, when someone cooks it on a steel pan, that is not sufficient. Like you want a certain searing that only cast iron can do. And I tend to believe, I have had fantastic coffees from all machines,
right,
but it is not as natural in my, albeit limited experience with various types of roasters, to be able to get that in kind of the inherent behavior of the machine. And those Probats, to me, you can basically, if you charge it, you put the coffee in at the right throw weight, right? That, that thing wants to make it taste great, just in the natural kind of inherent profile. So long-winded answer, but that's what I got for
that's
it.
a fantastic answer. And it really, while you were talking, because over the year I've roasted on many roasters, and certain years I've had certain flavor profiles that have attracted me more than others. And about 5 years ago, what I was tasting off Strongholds were blowing my mind.
Okay.
But it was super clean and super bright. And it's like, a great Sauvignon Blanc wine where it's got that gooseberry and, fresh lawn kind
cat urine type of
Not
flavor.
that. That's like a defect. But,
I'm just joking.
with a lot of clarity, but it did lack body. But now I'm in this phase of my life where I'm really gravitating towards sweetness wins and body and juicy, these rich flavors. And I've roasted on Probats for years. I'm more attracted to the look and the build quality of the Gießen. That's like the old school L series and UG series of the 70s. Like they had that heavy, the whole thing's cast iron versus now the new Probats are a mixture of metal and cast iron.
Sure.
So it would probably be a Gießen if I had a shot, like my passion project, because I've liked the way coffees I've roasted come off that thing. I think the roaster looks cool and the build quality is great. Although I can say that when I've competed in roasting, my best roasts I've ever done have been on Dietrich's and Sasa Salmiak back in the day. That's a French roaster.
I don't know anything about
best roast in the context of the competition, or best roast like ever?
Where I felt like I nailed it, and then I turned it in and I did well, and I knew I did well. Just
and
by
it
the
was
way.
for what preparation method?
These were we were cupping these.
Okay, interesting.
But just the way you'd roll into the first crack and you roll in the second, you could just feel the coffee doing what you wanted to do. I just felt Dietrich's can deliver. Even the IRs, I mean, once you figured it out, it wasn't that difficult to roast on.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you say that, because had I had a more comprehensive answer, I mean, there was a time where what I would have answered for this would have included two different roasters, one for filter coffees and one for espresso. And
that's wild. But
yeah.
what would that be?
And so the roaster that I would
This is a very
use-
expensive plant you're building.
Sure, it's totally
Compared to
impractical.
Mike's,
I will say
vintage.
there is a roaster, and we work with them. We've also featured some of their principals on this podcast who actually do this.
So
They have Diedrich and Probat, and primarily use Probat for filter coffees and primarily Diedrich for espresso.
Wow.
Or at least historically so. I mean, things may have changed by now. But to me, the IR and the sort of like, I'm probably envisioning the roast process in an artistic sort of, mind way rather than really what's happening. But the indirect heat, the softness of some of the, very sweet profiles, mellow acidity, but like in a preparation method like espresso, or I would imagine mocha pot or something as concentrated, like really mellow rounded edges that when intensified that way are fantastic. So,
That's a very interesting theory.
but to bring this back to our episode topic,
yes,
super impressive. How many roasters are on the patio? 6, 8,
4.
4.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I was way off. Almost
100%
100% off.
Dietrichs, a gas and an electric, a Loring, which is the smallest Loring I've ever seen. It's
Must be
probably
a 3 kilo.
or maybe a 1 kilo, like we talked about in earlier episodes, how you could make a full living on that. And then the civets, which those are bigger than they look. Their capacities are larger. But I didn't.
But yeah, a fantastic feature of the event.
It was awesome.
I feel like one of the things looking back, and obviously it was a whole different scale, but I can see where this event is going in over the long term. To have a place where you can go as a young roaster to know that you can get some time on various equipment, understand not just, I mean, one of the biggest ways you learn the ingredient is by interacting with it through different mediums, right? And how hard is that, right? Where most people who've entered coffee, they're working for a company that has a roaster, and that roaster becomes when they start their company, they get it because it's the one that they know, right?
Right.
And so to go to an event, I mean, in the heyday of Roasters Guild, there would be 20, 25 roasters on a giant,
Big tent.
Huge tent on one centralized exhaust pipe. I mean, really impressive.
Yeah.
But I think to see that when Mike and I rolled in and we're seeing all these old coffee heads, haven't seen in ages, and the roasters are outside and they're getting them all plumbed in. And I mean, that is so exciting to see.
Oh, absolutely.
And a really unique environment. And I feel like if you're on your way up in roasting, if you're looking to trade ideas, if you're looking to access people who, in the context of an SCA, are going to be way too tied up, but could provide mentorship opportunities, and, build relationships. Roast Summit is a fantastic event.
I think it's wonderful. I think it would be very difficult to have that experience at the SCA show.
Yeah, everybody's bouncing.
It's too much going on. I am somewhat surprised that companies like Probat, who have a large plant in Chicago, or Dietrich in Idaho, why they don't do these also, have a big tent where you can go and roast on a bunch of models over a weekend. It seems like it's just, this is a great sales pitch for them here. And it seems like to drive people to their plant and do a tour and then have a roast challenge and give away something, I think they would bring tons of people to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just an observation from a marketing desk. The Dietrich logo, they've got 2 logos.
Oh, yeah.
One is a male and profile on this. They've got a second logo, and the roaster has a ponytail.
Yeah, one has a cap and one has a ponytail.
And I just remember there was a time when the reaction to that logo would be quizzical. And because the first Roasters Guild, maybe there were 2, 3 women. And then there was a time when that logo would have been aspirational. But now I think more than ever, that's just a reflection of who's there. I mean, looking around at who was watching the demonstration, that's what, then the 2 roasters are sitting there, and one has the cap and one has the ponytail. That's what the audience looked like. That's what the attendees look like.
Right.
So I just really enjoyed seeing that.
Well, I'd love to get to the bottom of how those logos are used and what was the thought process. Do you get to, like you said earlier, do you get to pick it, or does it come with certain models?
Yeah, I would imagine you get to pick it.
Yeah.
No, good on Dietrich for making space for people to see themselves as belonging in the narrative, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look in any place and you can't see yourself there, why would you go in?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, could not be more excited for Kovoya to be a sponsor of this event.
Yes, we are.
We sponsored with some green coffee. I hope from our company standpoint, we'll be at all of these going forward. I mean,
I would hope so. This is a great fit. I think any import company that is present here sees the potential of an event like this for them.
Yeah. I'd be remiss not to, before we hang it up on this topic, Mark.
Sure.
Last minute, you've been tapped for a presentation, a
speaking
panel.
tomorrow,
Tomorrow.
twice,
So
yeah.
tell us a little bit about what's going on there and what heat you intend to bring. And
The panel's on navigating coffee buying in a challenging market. So it's tariffs and high prices and uncertainty, and it's things we have been talking about recently. So I'm not sure if some speakers fell out. I'm not sure what led.
I believe that was what happened. I was talking to Mike Ebert earlier, and he had mentioned that there was like a last minute cancellation. That's not to downplay. I mean, this should have been the headline to begin with.
I would assume that topic was.
No, it wasn't on the schedule.
Yeah,
so
that
don't.
should be the headlining topic.
It absolutely should
that's
be.
probably
I think it's going to
most
be
relevant to anybody right now.
I think people will be like firmly in the grip.
So I that's a lot of pressure on me.
Yeah, that's we have another show on the network called Coffee Memo with Rob Steven.
Listen to it on the plane ride.
And those have been extremely popular.
Yeah,
they're doing very well, and I think for a number of reasons, but I just think because it's so day-to-day topical,
right,
and just it's so in the moment. So yeah,
everyone's feeling it.
Yeah.
Everybody I've interacted with, like the joke is, what a year we're having, right? I mean, it's.
I mean, especially the people that have said, I just got into roasting or I just became a buyer last year. And it's like, wow, you are picked the worst time to be in this.
Yeah, it's funny though. Wouldn't that person be like in the greatest benefit? Like, I mean,
they're going to walk away at this moment in time with the most knowledge versus people who spent 5 years with no real challenges.
For sure. But
little.
That person is like, I guess this is how it works. Like everyone else is
everything's
thinking,
on fire all the time.
It's like running with a weight vest on.
Yeah.
When you take it out the
vest.
Yeah.
But awesome. Can't wait to hear people's reactions to what you.
I hope to.
What kind of service you bring.
Not disappoint. Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be great.
You've been listening to the Exchange Coffee Podcast, hosted by Mark Inman and Todd Mackey and produced by me, Mike Ferguson. The Exchange theme music is Exchange by Lo-Fi Zoo. Here comes your postscript, but stick around for some housekeeping on the other side.
No, it was the sales pitch of a mad scientist who was convinced his way was the right way, and there was no other way. And
totally.
If you've enjoyed this or any podcasts on the Exchange Coffee Podcasting Network, please do all the things like, subscribe, tell 3 friends. Right now, I'll wait. You'll find a link to our listener survey in the show notes. Please take the survey.
Please, I'm begging you.
And remember 2 things. You can always email us at theexchange@kavoya.com, and Black Coffee is performed by the one and only Ella Fitzgerald.